judgment surrounding me. I sit and ponder, question and wonder who from my past has been haunting me. Try to open my eyes, but I keep seeing two of me. Type and delete all my feelings, I'm ready. It's 5 in the morning and
Alright, it is time for another video. This one is going to be called Skin in the Game and Mental Illness. Working title, we'll see what happens post-edit. I'm going to be responding to a comment. A man by the name of Cloak and Poke has left. What a fascinating name. A man by the name of Cloak and Poke has left a comment. I've got to talk about Mercedes and what skin in the game actually is. And I've got some other topics that, well, we'll see how they land. Anyway, let me respond to this comment. This brother left a comment if mental illness had a voice. Okay, so I've decided to use this comment as a jumping off point to make a bigger commentary on the whole F1 space as a whole right now. And that is that there's a certain mental illness of F1 that is present right now. And people haven't particularly cottoned on. And that is that the mental illness of F1 is that you must be mentally ill to believe that there's some sort of legitimate competition going out on circuit. And it's not even about the cars or that Red Bull are wherever they are. It's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's the fact that the winners are selected in F1. That's the problem. Post Abu Dhabi 2021, where they, for all intents and purposes, rigged a Grand Prix against Sir Lewis Hamilton for whatever reason, right? People want to say it's racism. I wouldn't tell you it's racism. I have other reasons to forward you. But who knows? If I forward them, people are going to say I'm mentally ill, but then the thing happened all the same in Abu Dhabi 2021, right? And when I forward this shit, I'm gonna be referencing the .gov documents, and people aren't gonna fucking like that. And then people are gonna say, oh, it's getting too granular here, and then they click off the vid. It's whatever, right? I could make another Esoterica. It's in the name, right? I got a playlist on the channel, F1 Esoterica. Playlist for a very few people. It's in the name. It's not for all the men that are subscribed to the channel. But there's some vital information that is discussed in there. Right, some vital information. So, I'm referencing the .govs. The brother wants to say I'm mentally ill, but he is probably of the mindset or belief that there is still some sort of legitimate competition going on in F1 after they've broken kayfabe with Abu Dhabi 2021. Post mask off, they went mask off. For whatever reason, the apparatus switched on, and it conspired against Sir Lewis Hamilton and said, through whatever means, you will not be 8-time world champion today. Right? Even if the rule book itself has to be thrown away, through whatever means, Sir Lewis Hamilton, he will not be 8-time world champion today. And so that's what happened. And it's different to back in the 90s or some shit, right? It's different. You could go watch the whole Senna Prost thing back again right now, all the seasons. You could go watch it back again, and you might have something to say about it. But guess what? Back then, there was no way to say anything about it. You perhaps had a diary. You write it down in your diary. Oh, this bullshit thing happened in the F1 today. But there was no way to publish. Nowadays. Now we're in the modern world. We're in the brave new world. Okay? And there's YouTube. There's Facebook. There's Instagram. There's Twitter. And so anyone can see the Coliseum games going on with their eyes, see that, oh shit, the chariot race has broken the kayfabe, what's going on here? And you go document it on one on one of the many apparatuses, one of the many wings of the Mon Library of Alexandria. You go document it, you publish it, and then, oh shit, I also saw that. Oh shit, he also saw that. Oh shit, she also saw that. Everyone saw the same thing. Everyone saw F1 go mask off. But oh no, we're somehow mentally ill. We're somehow mentally ill for seeing that, and it's not the people who still believe there's some sort of legitimate competition being held out on circuit. The wins are not earned. I don't even give a fuck what this means for Sir Lewis Hamilton's legacy or Michael Schumacher, what have you. The wins are not earned. People are now going to say, oh, but there was none of this tech to do any of that back then. Brother, the MK Ultra predates World War II. Alright, the MK Ultra shit predates World War II. Whatever tech that they put on the cars, that's 50 years dated. Alright, give a fuck about whatever weapons that they're testing right now up there in... And there's 2 locales now that live weapons tests are being held, allegedly. Who knows? Palestine, the Gaza Strip, there's a weapons test being held over there, and the Russia-Ukraine war. There's another weapons test being held there. Why are they holding weapons tests? Well, because the West wants to secure... Allegedly, this is the storyline they've cooked up, the whole apparatus working together. This is the story that they've cooked up. But the West wants to take Taiwan, right? And they want to secure Taiwan, and they're pretty sure that China is going to move on Taiwan sometime between 2026 and 2028. Ergo, they're running some weapons tests right now. They're gonna hit design phase, make some corrections on the weapons, and manufacture for the new war. And perhaps then World War III will truly begin. Who knows? But hey, guess what? World War III might be brewing, but they definitely want you to keep your eyes trained on the chariot races at the Colosseum that have already broken kayfabe and delegitimized and defrauded themselves. They definitely want your eyes trained there at the fake sports. That's where they want your eyes trained. Not on World War III brewing. Give a fuck about that. Oh, that'll never reach you. You know, the real mental illness of F1 is even still giving a shit. Who gives a shit about this fucking space? No one really. And people are gonna say, oh, there's people doing good work here documenting all of the races. That's specifically not giving a fuck. Who gives a fuck about documenting? You know, it's funny, I was doing the GP observations bullshit, right? It's a good it's a good series. It was flexible enough, I could work with it, but it's not worth the effort. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the attention, because F1's not worth that attention, right? And it was great because it got the channel into the fucking algorithms and the channel had visibility. It was great. Great shit. Could still be doing it right now, still posting my flavor videos here and there. Season's been kind of light. But no. There's no GP observations, because I will literally go insane doing the GP observations. That's me making a mental health choice. You understand? That is me making a mental health choice, saying, no. There's no actual value commentating on the sport as we go to the Colosseum of the week. There's no value. There is no value to be had doing that, and frankly, I am so curious to see, as we approach 2025, and I suppose the sun will always rise tomorrow, 2026, how these men who are running their channels in that way are actually behaving. Right? I wonder how long the money will keep them sane. I ain't getting paid for this shit. right? I don't have no comforts of money coming out of doing the GP observations to justify doing the GP observations. It's simply not worth it. And F1 itself is not worth it because it's defrauded itself. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And people might be curious, what is kayfabe? This guy's mentioned kayfabe. Kayfabe is a wrestling term, right? Before we had the camcorders and all of that, it was camcorders by then. But before we had the camcorders and all of that, the wrestlers could, in some instances, break character post-show, right? There would be no one to record the instance and say, oh my god, look, the wrestling is fake. There would be no one to do that. We got camcorders. WWF at the time was mega, of course. It's Blockbuster. That was Blockbuster. The whole Kevin Nash incident, Kevin Nash, Triple H, X-Pac and Shawn Michaels, I believe I might be getting some characters wrong over here. But that thing happened. People caught it on film. Oh my god, these guys are supposed to be having a feud, but they're actually all buddy-buddy. It's all fake. Right? It's not all fake. The bumps are real, but the winners are chosen in wrestling. I'm not talking Olympic wrestling. I don't want fucking Olympic wrestlers coming in here saying, oh, what you saying about my... We're not talking about that. We're talking about the circuit. We're talking about the circuit. Alright? So, they broke kayfabe in the wrestling. Oh shit. Everyone knows that all the wrestlers are friendly and what have you. What happens when we get to modern WWE? We all accept it. We're just looking for storylines. Okay, it doesn't have to be real. Whatever. Give a fuck about that. Of course, niggas ain't being buried alive and shit. But we're looking for good storylines. Right? That's the future of F1. That's probably the future of all of the fucking sports. Right? People are just going to be looking for storylines. And it's very interesting that Arsenal are peaking all of a sudden when World War III is very interesting. Too interesting, in fact, that Arsenal are peaking when World War III is brewing. And there's various fuckeries going on around the world. But anyway, may or may not address that later. But I digress, right? When I am talking about the effects of Operation Mockingbird, Project MK Ultra, fucking Operation Popeye, and all of these various things that the military-industrial complex has come up with over time. When I'm talking about any of these things, please understand, right? Just please understand that I am referencing .gov documents. These are .gov references. Right? These were not just pulled out the damn ether and applied willy-nilly. I am referencing the .govs. If you're referencing some journalist, then I really couldn't give a shit. Journalist is part of the Operation Mockingbird. But anyway. Anyway. I should really probably fix up another esoterica. But there'll be time. There'll be time for them, of course. But, you know, it seems to be needed. Right? It seems to be needed is all. But otherwise, you know, for whatever reason, Abu Dhabi 2021, the apparatus went mask off, it switched on, and suddenly Sir Lewis Hamilton was denied of 8th championship through a moment and process that discarded the actual written and signed and agreed upon rule sets. And there's people out here on this internet. This guy's probably a glowy, but whatever. Right? Whatever. I will suss out the second response. And we shall make a decision thereafter. And don't get it twisted. There's glowies all over the YouTubes. They're on all sorts of channels, in all sorts of comment sections, doing whatever it is that they're actually doing. I'm not particularly sure why there would be CIA agents out here on the webosphere. But anyway, right? We'll have to wait for the Freedom of Information Act to drop on that one, that the CIA are running troll farms and shit. But anyway, that should be that. The real mental illness of F1 is that people still believe there's a legitimate competition going on. That's the real mental illness of F1. You see, I couldn't comment on the sport as a real competition because I was literally feeling my sanity slipping. And if you're still treating F1 as some sort of legitimate competition after it's broken kayfabe, I don't know, you're lost. You're lost. This ain't the place for you. Go to WTF1, they're just posting shorts now. You see, they got broken. Quick, there's a whole organization. Anyway. Alright, I want to talk about Mercedes and what skin in the game actually is. There's a baseline understanding of skin in the game, such as as soon as you put down money, your own money into the game, then you behave differently within the game. Okay. And money is a fascinating concept unto itself, because it represents how much energy you have put into the apparatus. So when you put your energy down into something in the form of money, it transforms your behavior towards it. It transforms the energy that you commit to it. But that's one level of skin in the game. There's different skins and there are different games. Now, it's funny, I got a brother drop comments on the previous video talking about Bernie coming across some bad karma. You see, Bernie, he's running out of metaphysical rope, as it were. As it is with all these things. What was that thing called? Karmic retribution? I have to go do the research again myself. But the apparatus itself and all these brands that make it up, they have a metaphysical rope that they can't get hung by. So they have to play the game by the rules. And some of those rules are, if you've done some evil or evility, or you've broke bread with some devil in the past, you can't particularly be caught slacking on following the rules of any established games now in the present. And we have brands like a Mercedes and a Ferrari and what have you, and an Alfa Romeo. We have brands that predate F1, right? F1's not even that old, right? It's a 1950s thing. They were still racing cars in top categories. I forget what it was called exactly, the top category at the time, 500cc or something. I'm not sure how they arranged it exactly, but there was a way to arrange it. But it wasn't called F1. Right, there was an F1 before F1. But all that aside, brands like Mercedes raced there. And Mercedes did various things, right? Mercedes raced cars for Nazis as part of their propaganda / mind control apparatus. Ergo, whatever devils Hitler broke bread with, they broke bread with the same devils. Never mind that it was their hardware that went plowing through the crowd in the 1955 Le Mans disaster. Never mind that. That shortens the metaphysical rope a bit more. So you'll never actually find Mercedes cheating in the motorsports. You might find them pushing the engineering to its limits, and that's how we get things like the CLK GTR at Le Mans doing somersaults and what have you. That's how we get things like that, and the DAS and what have you. But you'll never find them breaking the rules. They can't actually afford to. That would be the death of the brand. The brand would die. And it's not even that people would be aware of why they're disconnecting from the brand. It's just that there's some part of the brain, a subconscious part, or even I forget what's deeper than subconscious, but anyway, there is some part of the brain that undeniably has taken note that, the Mercedes outfit were racing cars for the Nazis at some point. And so for whatever reason, if Mercedes were found to be skirting the rules, well, that would be a huge hit to their brand if we were to use the canon of modernity. If we were to use some of the canon and language of modernity, that would be a huge hit to the brand. And it probably wouldn't recover for whatever reason. Right? For whatsoever reason. Mind you, none of the auto union manufacturers can really be caught cheating at the motorsports because they just don't. Porsche doesn't, your Audi doesn't. They just come in, do the good engineering with the German post-Third Reich, we gotta make things right work ethic, and that's really it. They got too much skin in the game at this point to cheat. It's too much. I mean, we're post Operation Paperclip. This video is not even an esoterica, but we're post Operation Paperclip, brother. It was Nazi minds that landed man on the moon and all that. We're post Operation Paperclip. So if there's any outfits that have skin in the game as far as it relates to motorsport, and you're never going to find them cheating by the given rule set, it's any German marque that was under the auto union umbrella. You're talking Audi, you're talking Mercedes. But this is going to segue us into our next topic. Alright, not all the brands have the metaphysical rope to cheat. Red Bull got their karma coming, but their karma is not as big as it should be. But anyway, there is a fascinating phenomenon that I've taken note of here on this webosphere, as it were, on the YouTubes, browsing some of the comment sections. Mind you, it's also on the fucking Instagram and the fucking X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it now. Whatever the fuck people are gonna call it now. And this is the strange phenomenon of Red Bull fans constantly trying to claim that Mercedes will be caught cheating. Now you see, I've got to juxtapose this with some football brands. Right, I'm gonna use Arsenal and Man City, right? Arsenal and Mercedes are not all that different. Right, Arsenal do indeed have skin in the game. Whatever was done to steal Tottenham's spot in the top flight league at the time, that was a bit of a foul one, but hey, it's the Spuds. It's the Spuds, so it's necessary. Right? Mercedes, they were a German marquee. As I've just explained, they were racing cars for the Nazis. So you'll never find these institutions cheating, i.e. breaking the established rule set in modern times. You just won't. You just won't find them doing so. Although, who knows, Arsenal might bite the bullet if it's to stick it to the Spuds. Anything might happen. Anything might happen. But anyway, Man City and Red Bull, these two brands, they're in the same WhatsApp group, or Discord group, or invite-only section of Reddit, whatever's your fancy. They're in there together, and they're discussing ways of how to cheat at their games. Right? It's funny, there are some Man City fans who are former Arsenal fans. They are Arsenal fans who lack loyalty, right? It's funny, Arsenal selects for loyalty, and well, we'll get into that. But Arsenal does select for loyalty. And these men were only interested in some pretty football and trophies. So they caved and they went to Man City. And now, interestingly enough, right, I'm sure people have caught some post games here and there of the Arsenal Man City game. So why is it that you find some Man City fans who are reacting highly emotionally to being beaten by Arsenal, and why is it that you've got some Man City fans who just couldn't give a shit, and they just say, well, Pep's gonna get on with it? Why is there that disparity? Well, it's because the City fans who are calm, right, they've been with City the whole journey. They've been with City through relegation. Right, so, losing a game to Arsenal, that was regular. That's been regular for their history. It's not a new thing. They're not particularly fussed about it. The new City fans who jumped ship from Arsenal because they lacked loyalty, they were not selected for loyalty because Wenger did the Wenger ball thing, and oh my god, the football is so pretty. They're the ones who can't believe that Arsenal have done it organically. They absolutely cannot. They absolutely cannot. Now someone's going to come in and say, oh, Arsenal haven't done anything yet, there's no trophy that's been won. Okay, whatever. It's an inevitability, right? It's one of those things that at this point is an inevitability. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. And mind you, I'll talk about Arteta at the end of this fucking segment. It triggers the City fans because they know that they didn't do it organically. The old guard City fans, they don't particularly give a shit. They don't particularly give a shit, mate. They was in League One. They don't give a shit. It's oil money, what have you. As far as they're concerned, they won the lottery. The new City fans, they chose a club. They chose a club. The club just so happened to be winning. And they knew how the team got there. Can't say it out loud, right? So there's no 115 breaches coming Arsenal's way, for instance. Arsenal, likewise, is a very metaphysical football club. Right, especially in recent times, I should say, but generally across its whole history. It's a very metaphysical football club. That's why you've got the managers, Arsene, Arteta. They've got the AR for Arsenal already in their name, as it were. Funny little thing. Funny little thing the club is doing. So again, you're never really going to find the Arsenal cheating at the football. So why do Mercedes and Sir Lewis Hamilton trigger the Red Bull Verstappen fans? Again, it's all organic. It's all organic at Mercedes. You see, it's funny. People don't even mention Spygate. Right? The Red Bull Verstappen fans that come around, they don't even mention Spygate. They either don't know about it, or, as is the case, well, McLaren got punished. They actually got disqualified from a Constructors' Championship and 100 mil fine. Right, that's very different to whatever fine Red Bull cops. Very different. Very different. 100 mil fine. Of course, having another team's data through some twist of fate, a very rare scenario. But likewise, even the way the team principals addressed the whole situation was completely different. So people don't talk about Spygate because it's been dealt with. It's funny, it's been dealt with. The Abu Dhabi 21 has not actually been dealt with. Neither has the ramifications of Red Bull breaching cap. You see, the people who've been on the channel since jump, right? They know that I was hoping that Red Bull did not actually breach cap when this whole thing about them breaching cap was going down. I was hoping. I was saying there's no way. They cannot be over the budget cap because it's probably going to break F1 if they are. And, well, the order come out. The order come out for the main design phase of this new formula. They were over cap. By how much? Oh, they've tried to redact it, but I don't know. These spicy kittens over there at Red Bull, they let the deed slip. But there's new men who come across the channel, they don't even know about that. They don't even know that I was desperate for Red Bull not to be over cap. They don't even know. Right, and so we get to a world where, because it was all organic with Mercedes and Sir Lewis Hamilton, but it's not organic with Verstappen. Now we compared Arsenal and Man City. And we get to a space where now the Verstappen fans are angry. They lash out anytime they have to hear someone talk about a thing, right? You see, when all is said and done, the majority of football fans do not actually respect City's titles or their treble. Right? The majority. Why is that? Because, well, we can see it wasn't done organically. Never mind the 115 breaches. It's convenient that the 115 breaches has come out, but, well, what's the working assumption everyone's actually running? That Man City are going to bust case somehow, some way, somehow. Perhaps they buy all the lawyers that come across them. That's the working assumption right now. But it's been so many years of busting case here and there, and it's not even that the allegations are being disproven. Right? They were time barred before. We see what happens with current case. We'll see what happens. But right now, the main thing that they're weighing up in the back rooms is, well, can the Barclays Premier League actually afford for this team to be caught of, well, whatever it is that they've done quite specifically. There's a way to explain it, but I don't actually think there's language for it. Man City have inflated their club's economy, right? Never mind the 10 million coming out of a post box, whatever. That's not particularly important. That's just there. But Man City have inflated their club's economy by buying and selling players that they shouldn't have been able to afford. And now they're at this point in time where they're just throwing out the 50 mil here, 50 mil there, sometimes 100 mil for a player. But it's only 1 or 2 players each season, so it's not particularly... And likewise, the economy of football has changed, so it's not particularly problematic. But it's what they did at the start that's problematic. And that has inflated their economy to where they can actually do things like this. Because it's funny, for whatever reason, Arsenal, club with so many fans across the world and loyal fans, because Arsenal selects for loyalty. It's funny how when Arsenal are all of a sudden able to drop 100 mil on a player, people wanted to start whispering about FFP this way and that way. But Arsenal don't have no inflated club economy. Right? It's all organic. But back to the topic. When all is said and done, the majority of football fans straight up do not respect City's titles. They just don't. If you were to press them, put a gun to them, say, and the gun detects for truth or lies, right? So people need to speak their truth at that point and say, do you respect any of Man City's titles? And if they answer the question with a lie, whatever their truth is, if they answer it with a lie, bang, it's over. You meet your maker. What are people gonna say? Right now, we swing it back to F1. When all is said and done, the majority of F1 fans do not respect Verstappen's 3 world titles. The Italians booed him. I'm pretty sure the Brazilians have booed, or they will boo him. The Brits booed him. The people who advertise themselves as the most fair on this here wet rock. I shouldn't call it a wet rock. I shouldn't do that. Bad habit, but whatever. But the people who call themselves the most fair, the Brits, even they're booing Verstappen. And it's not because they're such big fans of Sir Lewis Hamilton or what have you, because we know that's not the case. They're a bigger fan of Lando. They're a bigger fan of George. We know this. Right, so why are the Brits also booing Verstappen? And there's probably been more places he's been booed in Miami, I believe, as well. Or was it Texas? One of the American events, maybe even both. Why is that? The freest people, the Americans, they booed him. Right, now, it's a funny thing coming out of Qatar. He's just become 3-time world champion. He's not the story of the weekend. It's that the protagonist crashed. And we know that Sir Lewis Hamilton is the protagonist because we can just point to Abu Dhabi 2021, where the whole apparatus, as I explained earlier in the video, switched on to conspire against him. But you see, now when someone mentions City being a plastic club or cheating to success, it stings the City fans. Likewise, when someone mentions that none of Verstappen's titles as of now are legitimate, it stings the Verstappen fans. I mean, people would like to point to a title for Sir Lewis Hamilton this way or that way. People don't even mention Spygate, because there's not much to mention about Spygate. If if the same people who ruled on Spygate ruled on Red Bull's budget breach, I mean, it'd have a completely different scenario right now. But it's not the same people. Alright, and mind you, regardless of time, regardless when in history this is, the winners are chosen, so a specific result had to be had. And it even applies to the football. Funny how the refs referee are different. Right? You see, the referees in all of these field sports and court sports, what are they? They are like directors. Right? They're like a movie director, right? They need to direct the proceedings to the desired ending. Now, this isn't for all the matches, but it's for the key matches. There are certain storylines that have to be executed here and there. You know, it's well documented that if your club is not doing well as a man, if whichever football club it is you support, then your libido is lower, right? That's well documented. Your testosterone levels lower. You know, all the things that make you manly are lower. And when your football club is winning, all of those levels go up, right? That is well documented, right? So what they do with this here society that the Third Reich, the Nazis, solved for them, is that they control the masses. They have all these various outlets which can dictate your actual hormonal levels, and well, here we are. They control the news apparatus through Operation Mockingbird. Everyone gets the same news, and various MK Ultra patents and technologies this way and that way that help to, well, foment whatever it is the military industrial complex has cooked up for us. So now let me just address Arteta real quick. I said a while ago that Arsenal should perhaps get rid of Arteta. Alright. I have to rescind. Now the first time I saw Arteta in his landing interview for Arsenal, right? I picked out that, okay, this guy is an MK handler or MK trainer of some sorts. But then he had such a bad middle period, and I've never actually paid attention to one of these situations play out before. Decided to just be a regular fan again. I said, nah, he probably has to go. He's probably got to go. Well, Arsenal knew what they had. They had the next up and coming MK trainer / MK handler. And so the Kronkers and the powers that be decided to keep Arteta, and well, here we are. Arsenal are ready to play their part in the grand narrative, and that is to distract Arsenal fans from actually looking at the world. That's what Arsenal is here to do. Great timing. I must say, great timing by the Colosseum. They knew exactly what they were doing. Right? So Lewis Hamilton could have a crash, but hey, if the Arsenal is like, there's a lot of overlap for whatever reason. Also with people who just in general have a quote-unquote soft spot for Arsenal, even if they're from a rival club or something, a Chelsea fan, whatever. There's a lot of overlap. Or perhaps they even have a trigger spot for Arsenal, right? But there's a lot of overlap with anyone who's Arsenal related and Sir Lewis Hamilton now. So Lewis Hamilton has done a thing in the F1 where they've had to make a storyline. They've had to make a storyline off the back of this crash. But anyway, that should be next up in this video. No. Alright, this is to close the video. I've got some notes from Qatar. Although looking at it now, I only want to talk about the one. Right, I only want to talk about the one. Because the one... the one, by eclipsing all the others, actually makes a point for me that I've been making throughout this video. And that is that Sir Lewis Hamilton crash. Now, there's a lot of ways to look at this crash. I mean, some people are blaming George. Some people are blaming Sir Lewis Hamilton. And really, there isn't really anyone to blame. Alright, if we're really getting technical with it, there's really no one to blame. But Sir Lewis Hamilton is the one with the most agency of the two Mercedes drivers. Right. Now, it's complicated because, well, Verstappen has made an impact. Right. Verstappen, he denied Sir Lewis Hamilton the slipstream by darting across to actually cover George Russell. And it was all a little spooky and booky when Sir Lewis Hamilton himself tried to move to the right to get some slipstream. That was all a bit booky over there. That's where it was already, there were some alarm bells going off for me. But it's alright because, well, the Arsenal game was going on at the same time. I'm not particularly paying attention to F1 like that right now. You see, before I might have paused the Arsenal game to watch the F1. Right now, that's not gonna happen. The football might be about to delegitimize itself, but it ain't done so just yet, right? So, but it ain't done so just yet. So I can still run the kayfabe there. The F1 broke kayfabe. Right, so I really don't have to see much else. Right, but I decided, it was like 70 odd minutes into the Arsenal game. Kind of looked like it was going to be a draw at that time. So I thought to myself, okay, let me just go catch lap 1 of the Grand Prix. Well, what an event that was. There was no reason to watch the Grand Prix afterwards. I did watch the Grand Prix. An interesting Grand Prix. I suppose the interesting things that happened that weekend is that, 1, the drivers were suffering from heat stroke in the cockpit. 2, Verstappen is now 3-time world champion, and 3, Piastri won the sprint race. Those are points of interest, but, well, who really cares about those? Sir Lewis Hamilton crashed. Alright, none of those other things are of particular import, and all parties involved know it. Even the drivers suffering heat stroke. Even that's not of import because the Sir Lewis Hamilton, the man with the missing championship, he's the one who crashed out. And like I said, if we observe who had agency at that moment, because Sir Lewis Hamilton, when chasing the slipstream that Verstappen was denying him, what actually happened was that Russell got boxed in, and, well, he wasn't necessarily going to get out of the throttle on account of having gotten a good slipstream on Verstappen. Short rundown, but these things matter. Short rundown to the first corner. I should finish the whole sentence, but anyway. But these things matter. That's why, for me, I say it got booky when Sir Lewis Hamilton also tried to catch a whiff of the slipstream coming off of Verstappen. That's when it got booky for me. And then we get into the corner. Sir Lewis Hamilton is actually behind at the braking zone, but he's going wider. He's taking a wider angle of the corner, and likewise, he's on the soft tires. So he's going to be faster going around the outside, but, well, he turned it in a bit too tight. And so things happened, and things happened very quick, and he's out. And that's just how it happens. And that was the story of the weekend. That was the real story of the weekend, right? And you see, it's funny, I've been seeing before Wonderful had this situation with the whole community occur, right? Before that, there was a post. There was a post on his channel where he was referencing things that Dutch fans themselves say and how Sir Lewis Hamilton lives rent-free in their heads. Well, he might be planted there by various parties. Who knows? Who knows at this point? I'm sure this cloak and poke brother on the thing, he might be learning that he's a victim right now, but who knows? Might be planted there for people. This is what you're supposed to talk about this week. Don't pay attention to Verstappen getting the third phony title. Don't pay much attention to that. Here's some drivers having heat stroke in the cockpit, a side story. Oh, here's Piastri with the win in the sprint, another side story. They needed a bigger story. They needed a bigger story because all the people who are still falling for the kayfabe right now, right? They can't have them interact with all of us who, well, I say all of us, there's very few of us here, mind you, but they can't have them interacting with us who, well, are seeing the sport committing further fraudulence. They can't have it. So please talk about the Sir Lewis Hamilton crash. That's what they want. The crash at the chariot race at the Qatar Coliseum has been a banger. It's been a banger. Fascinating, the whole situation is kicked up with Wonderful, but anyway, that's very fascinating to me. I mean, people are gonna be all overly emotional with this whole situation around Sir Lewis Hamilton because, well, it's unprecedented. We've never seen a driver get robbed by the sport itself, by the apparatus. So we've never seen that. Or perhaps we have, but, well, we could blame it on individual parties back then. You can't really do that with the situation. But anyway. Anyway. There's nothing of real import to note from Qatar. Yeah, the heat strokes is probably the most important thing, but that's just going to get lost in the mud because Sir Lewis Hamilton has crashed, and then maybe at the end of the week, the Verstappen fans will realize he's 3-time world champion and start talking about it. Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, that should be the video. Skin in the game and mental illness. We've gone some places this video, but oh well. I wouldn't expect everyone to get to the end of the video anyway. But yeah, that should be the vid. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Peace.
Hell breezy. Let me show you how to keep the dice rolling when you're doing that thing over there. Hey, let's go! Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away. Better know that I don't and I won't ever stop. Cause you know I gotta win every day. Go! See, really wanna pop me. Go! Just know that you will never flop me. And I know that I gotta be a little cocky. Go! You ain't never gonna stop me. Every time I come a nigga gotta set it, then I gotta go and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow and then I gotta shut it. Any little thing a nigga think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna dead it. Then I'm gonna murder everything and anything about it. Boom, about a bing. I gotta do a lot of things to make it clearer to a couple niggas that I always win and then I gotta get it again and again and again. And I be doing it to death and now I move a little foul. Nigga better call a rap and everybody know my style. Niggas know that I'm the best when it comes to doing this. And I be banging on my chest and I bang in the east and I banging in the west. And I come to give you more and I will never give you less. You will hear it in the street or you can read it in the press. Do you really wanna know what's next? Let's go. See the way we on it and we all up in the race. And you know we gotta go now try to keep up with the pace. And we struggling and hustling and sell it and get it. And we always gotta do it, take it to another place.